In the CSA, it is very likely you're going to get a CSA scenario that explores your consultation skills. Classically, this is the angry patient or breaking bad news. It's important that you've got a strategic approach to the angry patient, as these are high challenge and emotionally charged consultations. If it is in your CSA, then there's a 1 in 13 chance it's going to be your very first case, at a time when you are most anxious and at your most vulnerable. Fortunately, Flanagan has produced a model to help you manage this situation. As in all consultations, it begins with the welcome. Hi, I'm Dr. Smith. Do take a seat. How can I help you today? But Flanagan warns the fact that in the CSA, they may be so angry they won't take a seat, in which case you've just got to sit down and continue the consultation. It is important, Flanagan says, that you remind yourself at this point, don't freak, okay? This is an actor. Okay? This scenario is designed to be doable within 10 minutes. What you've got to do is actually enable them to ventilate. And that's where that open question is so important. In terms of the opening statements that they want to get out, it's going to be seeded with cues. And these are going to be non-verbal, shaking with anger, waving their finger at you, as well as verbal. For example, oh, that Dr. Smith, he was so dismissive about my thumb, and now look where it's got me. You know that there are a whole wealth of cues there that you could lead with. It's probably about the thumb. There are issues around the way Dr. Smith managed that consultation. There's clearly something about an adverse outcome, and the non-verbal cues demonstrating their anger. So, as in the classic Flanagan model, you take a cue-led approach. You reflect something back, leave it hanging, and this invites the patient to tell their story, emphasising those elements which are of greatest pertinence to them. So you might just say, you mentioned Dr. Smith and your thumb. Just tell me what's been happening. Or, I can't help but notice you seem really upset. Just tell me what's been going on. And you will then normally get the story that will contain aspects of ideas, concerns, expectations, or psychosocial impact. And all you've got to do is facilitate that disclosure, that ventilation with your ums, ahs, okays, tell me more, good eye contact. It may be appropriate during this ventilation to show empathy or apologise. Now, Flanagan says that with regards to this consultation, it's important when you choose to apologise or show empathy that it looks and sounds as though you really mean it. As there's nothing worse than someone repetitively and woodenly going, oh, I'm sorry, oh, I'm sorry. And patently, they're not sorry, they're just saying it because they know they're meant to say it. And this is likely to actually cause the patient to re-escalate with their anger and cause the consultation to break down. Now, having taken this conciliatory approach and actively listened to that golden minute, you will have aspects of ideas, concerns, expectations and psychosocial impact. Now, it's important, if they've given you, and quite clearly perhaps their concerns, that you assimilate it, use the information. What you mustn't do is think, oh gosh, now I've got to explore ideas, concerns and expectations, and then ask, is there anything that you were particularly worried about? Because it sounds wooden, formulaic, and more importantly, it suggests to the patient you're just not listening to them. and they're very likely to re-escalate in their anger. Obviously, there are going to be aspects of ideas, concerns, expectations or psychosocial impact that they've either not touched on or they've lightly touched on, and you need to explore it further. You can do this through that direct questioning in terms of, have you any thoughts as to what's going on? Is there anything in particular that's been worrying you with what's happening? Often patients have really good ideas as to how I may help. Had you any thoughts? Or, how's this been affecting you in terms of life, home, work, hobbies, that type of thing? Now, if your direct questions give you some answers, but you still get the feeling that you need to explore an aspect of one of these further, then it's important that you don't re-ask the same question. You find a different way of tackling it. And it's this where Flanagan suggests that a square search can be useful. This is a term that she coined for when a patient has mentioned somebody in their consultation. Maybe their partner, work colleagues, friends, lads at the golf club, a physiotherapist. And you can use that. Now, you mentioned your wife. Had she any worries with regard to what's been going on? And it's just a different approach, a conversational approach to further exploring an area that you feel is warranted. Having detailed their ideas, concerns, expectations and psychosocial impact, it's important to realise that there may be two issues. There may be a medical problem that needs addressing, as well as the actual complaint. So it's important to agenda set. By agenda setting, what you really want to do is ensure the patient appreciates that you're going to actually deal with both things today, but you're going to focus on one thing first before going to the other. If you don't clarify this and just, for example, focus on the medicine, they will keep thinking they're ignoring my complaint, and they will keep bringing things round to the fact that they may want to make a complaint. And this is why agenda setting is so important. You might say, now you've mentioned that you want to make a complaint and you've got this issue going on with your thumb. What I'd like to do is focus on your thumb and sort that out, and then I will come back to the complaint and how we take that forward. Is that okay? And that will help maintain the functionality of the consultation, but also it will give you structure. If there is a medical problem that needs to be addressed, because this consultation has to be doable within a 10-minute time frame, it's going to be pretty straightforward. It may well involve history and a brief examination, but in terms of the challenge of diagnostics and the next steps, it's going to be something that is going to be readily feasible and achievable for you to deliver. In terms of the options that you offer, it's very important that they're feasible and achievable, because if you suggest things that are unachievable or the systems just would not allow it, then of course when there is a failure for you on your part to deliver, all that will happen is the patient will get angry. So keep your medical options feasible and achievable. Make sure that they're spun and agreed with the patient, and then move on to the complaint. Explaining the complaints process, whether it's informal, formal, or what they should do if they were unsatisfied with the outcomes, what each involves. And again, getting a realistic and feasible plan together to take that forward. Whatever you do, whether it's both the medical management or if there is a complaint element, at the end it is very important that you summarise that which you've agreed with the patient, whether it's in terms of the complaint and its management or in terms of the medical problem and its management. Having done that, and the patient having left, it's important then to address your emotional housekeeping. In the CSA, you will be challenged by this consultation. And what you don't want to do is to be so freaked by the consultation that it impinges on your performance in the next CSA scenario. So, in real life, what do we do after a consultation like this? Normally you get up, leave the room, go and make yourself a cup of coffee or bop to the loo, and that physicality, that moving, getting back into a normal environment, just gives you the headspace and the time to actually decompress. Now in the CSA, it's important to do something similar. Obviously you can't go to the loo, but yeah, get out of your chair, go over to the window, because the windows in the CSA in Euston either look out to the outside world or into the inner atrium. You will see people going about their business. And that process, you get out the chair, look out the window, that helps normalise it. Get back in your seat. It takes about 20 seconds, but that's a great way of emotionally housekeeping it while mentally thinking, okay, that wasn't a patient, it was an actor. And what really is important is the case that's coming through the door.